Okay. I think that worked. Did it work? Oh my God. I'm going to be on my own for this afternoon for quite a while. So he's got me working with the Stream Deck. So God only knows what will happen. So hope everybody's having a great Saturday. It is a cold one here today on the East Coast. It's nippy, but the sun is shining and the sky is blue. So it's not all bad. I know that some of you are still getting snow. I saw a clip today of Montana, and they finally got the highway open. Oh my God, did you guys get a pile of snow? So we really haven't had that much snow this winter. So hopefully the weather is clearing for a lot of you and everybody is safe and sound at home, and that if you've lost power, that your power is back on. The miserable time of year to lose your power, middle of winter. Do have a shout out for today. My shout out goes to my girl, Sandy. Sandy has loaded up her website. I spent a little time on there the other day. Just never a good thing. She's got a lot of really cool stuff on her site. She's got some wonderful stamps, lots of really cool stencils, lots of Tim Holtz stencils. I'm in love with Tim Holtz stencils right now. And of course, she's got a lot of the goodies that I like to use. And I was on there the other day because I was just looking for some inspiration, and God knows Sandy's got oodles of that. But I did notice that she's got all kinds of Tim Holtz entomology tissue paper. And if you're going to be doing that daffodil or the crocus pattern in the next couple of weeks, get over to Sandy's website and order some of that tissue paper, because it's not that easy to find, even on Amazon. So my shout out this week is to Sandy McTeer's Designs, and go and check her out. She's got lots of cool goodies over on her website. Not the least of which is this Heat It tool. I need a replacement. I have one coming, hopefully. So anyway, you need one of those Heat It tools. They're fantastic. As for Happy Mail, I didn't have any this week. That was a bit of a bummer. Usually there's some kind of Happy Mail. I've ordered something or whatever, but I didn't have any Happy Mail this week. None of my orders came. So I have no Happy Mail. But I know that a whole bunch of you got Happy Mail because I sent out a whole bunch of it last week. And we're going to be sending out some more because we have 3 more giveaways today. And we have tucked in there, besides the fact that there's a nice little set of Dynasty Black Gold Minis in there. It's a 3-brush set. There's a liner, a mini round, and a mini fan. Fantastic for doing all those little detailed things, little bits of grasses and centers of flowers and things like that. So there's a wonderful little set of 3 Dynasty Black Gold Minis in there. And then, of course, we can't just send out 3 little brushes. So we loaded up one of our art stuff bags and we put a bunch of goodies in there too. So there's always some fun stuff in that. So we have 3 of those to give away today. The other thing that I have, I had been doing some filming recently, demoing stencil brushes, whatnot, and I ended up with a whole bunch of kind of cute stenciled reusable shopping bags. And I have no idea what I was going to do with them, but I thought it'd be fun. So I packed them up, loaded them up with some goodies and a couple little thank you things, tucked those into envelopes. So I have 3 of those to give away today too. Today we are going to be painting Wild Rose Saddle Soap. I love this piece. 1, I love horses, and this is just a fun one. And 2, a really great little piece, this cattle tag. I just think it's such a unique surface, and they're functional for so many different subject matters. But I love this horse, and went with the wild roses because, well, cowboy country in Canada is Alberta, and that's their provincial flower, is the wild rose. We get oodles of them here on the East Coast. We call them beach roses here. And they grow in profusion along the coast, and they're so, so pretty, and the air just smells heavenly when they're in bloom. So my inspiration came from the wild rose. And can't have horses without saddles. So saddle soap it is. So we're going to be working on that one today. It's not a difficult piece to paint. It's pretty easy, actually. Pretty straightforward. But it is a fun one. So we're going to have a little bit of fun painting the Wild Rose Saddle Soap. And if you guys are ready to get started, so am I. Now let's see if I can do this without messing it up. Hopefully that worked. Yes, no. Oh, look at that. It did work. Miracle of miracles. All I have to do is press a button, and I'm always so sure I'm going to mess it up.
Just don't press the red one.
Just don't press the red one. Yes, that's, rockets go off.
Yeah, there's no red buttons on that thing.
Oh, good. Lucky for me. Tell me not to do something. That's never a good idea. Let's see, who all is here today? Sandy Fowler's here, and Donna Pultz, and Danita Sicardo, Nelda Sanders. Hi, sweetie. Oh, my goodness. Ann Easterling is here. Now, I'm only on the Facebook feed right now. I can't see the YouTube one because it's on the computer on the other side of the room, and I don't have strong enough glasses to see that. Lori Skiffington, hi, sweetie. And Tara Ellis, hi, honey. Glad to have you here. And Debbie Easton is here. And Kathleen Ruth. And Norma Luther. Oh, my heavens. Nice to see you all. So if you want to get in on those giveaways today, all you have to do is like and share the live. We appreciate it. It helps us boost our numbers, which in turn lets us do more and more of this. I'm so excited. I was playing this week with a couple of new techniques that I thought would be fun, and came up with a crocus piece and a daffodil piece that I thought would be fun. Absolutely a beginner project, going to be super fun, super easy. So I just think they're very pretty, especially for spring. So this is the surface we're working on. It's one of those cattle tags. I gotta find the finished piece. Here it is. Okay. It's one of those cattle tags. I have had way too much fun with this surface. So this is the one we're going to be doing today. It's cute. I like it. I just think it's a nice, fun piece. So we're going to be working on this one with the Pretty Wild Roses. Pretty straightforward, not a difficult piece to paint. So we're going to start with the background. I kind of wanted sort of a denim look. And I found that the easiest way for me to sort of get that fabric look without just putting a base coat of blue down was to put a lighter value of blue underneath it. So I started with baby blue, and then I'm using Royal Navy. I like this blue. Not one that I use a lot, but I really have discovered that I really like it. So I'm using one of my Fugly brushes, and I'm putting the Royal Navy on in a vertical pattern. And I want lots of brush marks, lots of stria. And I kind of want them to run vertically, like so. I didn't want a smooth finish at all. I wanted something that looked a little coarse, kind of like denim. So I just wanted to make sure that all the baby blue was covered up. I don't want any really super light bits. But we've got lots of vertical lines, lots of stria. And then I brush it out so it's nice and smooth. There we go. Whew, lots of reflection there too. So I'm going to dry this real quick. This isn't a difficult one to do. This one actually is very simple, and it works up pretty quick. So I'm just going to dry this really quick so that it's good to go. And then I'm going to take my 1/2 inch angle, and I'm going to take that Royal Navy, a little bit on my angle. We're going to float that color around the outside edge. Just a nice little float around the outside edge. It doesn't make a drastic difference to this. It's a subtle difference, but it just unifies the edge a little bit. Just makes things look a little more cohesive. There we go. So once you have that float on, you are ready to trace and transfer your design on. And having that heat it tool is just a godsend. It dries things really fast. Just be careful you don't overheat. So I like that little float. It just gives you a softer finish at the outside edge. Doesn't look so rough. It eliminates any little drag marks or irregularities at the edge. It just makes things, gives it a nice finished look. So from here, we're going to trace and transfer that line drawing on. I used a little bit of white graphite for mine. And as you can see, I've already got mine in place. Now, one of the things that I like to do after I transfer my line drawings on is I like to take my base color, which is that little bit of Royal Navy, and I've loaded a little bit onto an angle, so I'm just going to put a float all the way around my line drawing. Now, obviously, I have mine base coated, but ordinarily I do this before I put my base coats in. And that little float goes inside the lettering, like so. And it's a subtle difference, but it makes a difference. So when you have that little float in there, it just helps lift all of this off the surface. And it is subtle, but it's important. So that little bit of that Royal Navy floated in there will help lift all that lettering off the background, but it also helps lift all this floral as well. So in and around. Neatness doesn't really count if you're working on this after you've put your line drawings on. You don't have to worry if you get color up over top of your lines. You're still going to be able to see them. But it does make a world of difference. It just helps give this a little more elevation. Doesn't look quite so flat. So just tuck it in and around those leaves, around the floral, like so. Again, you don't have to worry too much about the perfection of it at this point. So I'm going to do the same thing to this set of letters as well. That little bit of height, that little bit of elevation, just gives everything a little dimension. So obviously I've taken a little more care because I've already base coated this lettering. At least everybody's here today. Janet Mills, and Pat High. So unfortunately, I can only watch the one screen, so I'm on Facebook Live. Renee has some work to do with Dot. So he's going to be in and out today. So there we go, little float. Again, it doesn't have to be much, but that little float's going to make a difference. So I'll dry that real quick. There we go. Now, my leaves, I'm going to start with these leaves up here on these little roses. My leaves are done with antique green. You can also do them with lush green. Now, I put a base coat, just a thin wash of warm white on everything. Because I'm working over this quite a dark blue, we would be fighting against it if I didn't. So a little bit of warm white makes all the difference. Gives us a nice coverage and a nice bright green. So one coat should be sufficient for this. They don't have to be perfect. And I've thinned my paint out with a little bit of Jo Sonja's Fast Dry Glaze. I usually do. I just find it gives my base coats a nice smooth finish. And then we've got a couple up here as well. Now, antique green is one of those odd greens. It's kind of earthy, kind of brown, kind of yellow, it's just an odd vintage green. I use it a lot though. I love this green. It works for me. So I'm just going to quickly put that green in. And I almost missed this little one down here. And I always pull my strokes in the shape of the leaf. So if it's, elongated, then the strokes are elongated. Just that way you're not fighting against anything. So there's our leaves. I also have a coat of that warm white on all of the petals. And we're going to paint those petals with a little bit of baby pink. I have been using pink a lot lately, and I don't ordinarily. So baby pink. It's a nice bright pink. It's quite soft though. I don't know what's up with that. I've never been much of a pink person, but lately I've been using it quite a bit. So all of these petals are going to get a coat of baby pink. And again, I follow the shape of the petal when I'm putting in my base coat. Base coating is that one little chore, I think, that we all have to do that none of us like. It's that requirement to get a decent base down so that we can get to the fun stuff. And it's at times tedious. But I do love that when you get it in there, your design just starts to come to life. Now this one is not an elaborate floral. It's pretty straightforward. And I kind of like it. For the last few days, I've been working on my membership group's project for March, and it's a bit more complex. But it's been fun. My membership group is working on perspective drawing this month for the coming month of March. And so I've been putting together their project, and it's taking me a bit longer than I thought it would, but I think it's going to be fun. I know it'll be challenging. That much I do know. But I think they're up for a challenge. And the piece that they did this month was working on the floral, and their challenge was to utilize it for their own design. And you're using elements of it for their own design work. And I've been so impressed. So there, we have our base coat for our roses in place. Now, it's got a little center in it. I'm going to just base coat a little circle with a little bit of warm white. Just like so. And let's dry this real quick, and then we'll be able to start all the fun stuff. Base coating is just such a drag. So I always want to get to the goodies. I think we're all like that. And as I said before, this one's going to work up really quickly, which is fun. I like it when things work up quickly. I'm trying to get a look at yeah, this one does move quickly. Oh, I'm also drawing things in between, so yes, it does come together pretty quickly. There we go. So now it's nice and dry. Just make sure it's nice and dry. So we're going to start with the leaves. I always like working on everything that's towards the back. And our colors for the leaves, we're going to be using Sprout, which is that one of the new greens that Deckwork put out this past year. Kind of like a chartreuse, a little more limey than that, but I love this one. It's a great highlight color, especially for antique green. So we're going to work with Sprout. I have a little bit of light lime as well. I like that green. We're going to use that. I love this. I think it's a pretty green. So we've got a little bit of light lime. I know you wouldn't think to put those two greens together, but it's going to work, I promise. And then we're going to use a little bit of plantation pine for our shading color. It's one of my favorite greens. I love plantation pine. It's a little on the transparent side. It's nice and dark, but not so dark that it's scary. But if you don't have plantation pine, you can use a black green, or you can use dark forest green. It just needs to be a dark value of green. Even a Hauser dark will work well too. One of my favorites for shading anything to do with leaves is this. I love this color. It's the Media Fluid Acrylic, the sap green. This is one of my favorites. I love this one too. So we're going to use a little bit of plantation pine. Nice rich dark green. And this one is earthy too, so it works really nicely with those two. I really like those ones. Now, for the last couple of weeks, I have been giving these a workout. I had never really had an opportunity to work with them. I had a few of them, but I didn't really have a lot of them. And Veronica Tui at Dynasty Brush sent me a goodie box with a full set of these Dynasty Water Lily brushes. These were designed for watercolor. They're a synthetic, but they also work really well with acrylics. And I kind of wanted to put them through their paces to see, how they would handle being used or abused in my case. So I've been working with these for the last little while. If you do not like a super soft brush, they may not be for you. However, having said that, they are softer than my faux squirrel. They are softer than the Dynasty Black Gold. However, they hold that chisel edge just beautifully. They float like a dream because they hold a lot of liquid. So if you're having trouble getting enough water in your brush, you might want to try these because they really hang on to some water. So it makes floating an absolute breeze. So I've really been enjoying working with these for the last almost a month, I guess. I've been playing with these and they have not let me down at all. So we're going to start with this 3/8 and a little bit of plantation pine. And I'm going to put a float at the top of the leaf where it joins the stem. Little U-shaped float. I always like to start with that. It just works really nicely. Sort of establishes the shape of the leaf and the curve of the leaf right off the bat. I love that. So there's that nice little float. There are a couple of little leaves sort of tucked in behind these roses, so a little float back there too. I want to darken this one a little. It's a little, looking a little peaky. There we go. So I'm going to dry that. And then we're going to create a center vein on these leaves. So this one curves down and away. A little on the strong side, I think. A little too much. Had a little too much paint in my brush. A little too much water, too. Oh, goodness. There we go. That's better. Good heavens. Apparently I forgot how to float. There we go. There we are. So I've got a center vein. A little rough on a couple of them. Just a little heavy-handed with the paint, but it's all good. It'll sort itself out. So that float is just a tip load of your shading color. You blend it well on your palette, back and forth. I see a lot of painters just tap, tap, tap into it. When you're blending, make sure you use both sides of the brush when you're blending on it. And that way you have paint on both sides. You don't end up with one side with a lot more paint than the other. So our highlight color for these leaves is going to be this little bit of Sprout. I love this color. And it's going to work really nicely for highlighting our leaves. You don't need to have a ton of it on your palette either because you're only using it for this one thing. So no need to have a gallon of it on your palette. I'm notorious for putting far too much paint on my palette. Anybody that's painted with me knows I don't like little micro dots of color on my palette. So I tend to be a little heavy-handed when it comes to the paint. So highlight opposite that float, that dark float that we put on. And then I like to put a little highlight at the edges on both sides of the leaf. I just think that it makes a world of difference. And your leaves have a little more life to them. So the daffodil piece that I posted yesterday, I had so much fun doing that. There's a little bit of decoupage involved. There's a little bit of decorative painting, a little mixed media. I had a lot of fun with it. And it's pretty. I mean, everybody likes a daffodil in spring. What's not to like? So I like that little texture at the edges of it, and it's just a little tap on the edge of the brush, like so. It just gives the edges of the leaves a little bit of texture. So I'm going to rinse out my brush. I'm going to dry those leaves, and then we're going to give them one more float of that plantation pine. There we go. So I've always found that if I come back in and just refloat that top edge, like so, underneath, it just gives the leaves a nice rounded over feeling. So they don't look so harsh. Here we go. So we're going to be using some of this light lime for doing some of the highlighted details on these leaves. I'm going to leave that until after this flower is done. So we have this pink petals, little white center. I'm going to take a little bit of warm white. You can use titanium white, any kind of white will work fine. And we're going to float a nice little bit in towards on these petals at the center, like so. We just want this white to sort of fade out a little bit as it goes up the petal. Just like that. It's just going to lighten the center of the flower a little bit. Dun, dun, dun. And this piece does work up very quickly. It's not a sophisticated or elaborate piece to paint. There's a few little folds and whatnot in the flowers, but those will get done. So it just kind of gives the center of these flowers a little bit of a glow, I think is the word I was looking for. So just needed it to strengthen it a little bit. That little bit just gives them a little brightness in the middle. So one color I came out last year, Joyful Pink. It's one of those in-your-face pinks. I really don't do a lot of pink. But I do love this one, that Joyful Pink. I just think it's a nice, bold, almost a fuchsia, almost. And it's really vibrant. And so I think it plays up these soft pinks really nicely. So we're going to shade the little flips and the bends in these petals with a little float of that Joyful Pink. Now, I don't use it full strength because it is a very strong color. So make sure you thin it out. Little floats. And they're thinned. Don't be afraid to thin that paint. little bit of water makes all the difference. You can use glaze. There we go. And it's just those little folds. Now, there is a flip over on this one, and it needs a little shadow underneath it. There we go. Again, we're not looking for super realistic, but those little floats, those little shadows and whatnot make a world of difference. Now, right at the top of this petal right here, you can see there's an opening right here. You're just going to fill that little opening with a fine line of that joyful pink. I should probably have put a little bit of warm white in there, but it's such a small space that I didn't want it to get lost. So, but of course, all that dark blue is just not helping us here. So I'm going to stroke in a little bit of that petal pink. And then I'll rinse out my brush and we'll paint in that little flip over with some joyful pink. Just so that it works. Otherwise, there we go. Oh, that's much better. At least now it's pink, not purple. There we go. All right. So, again, not a really strenuous floral to paint. We're going to rinse out that brush, and then we're going to pick up a little bit of warm white. You can pick up a little bit of baby pink with it if you want to, but it's not necessary. I'm going to just put a little float of warm white just opposite and out towards the edge of the petal. Opposite that shadow and then out towards the edge of the petal. So essentially I'm just putting a little highlight on the top edge of that little. So that little bit of warm white, it's just going to accentuate and enhance that shading a little bit. And it's going to smooth a couple of things out if you found that your float was perhaps not as sharp as you would have liked. It will smooth that out a little. And it softens those petals really nicely. And the fun part with this, there's not really any rhyme or reason to where some of these colors go. It's just, if I put the shadow on one side, well, then the highlight's going opposite. But there's no real plan for it. It's just a little bit of white to soften it. And there we go. So we've got that little center portion, that little ball down there. We're going to use a little bit of saffron yellow in there. I love this yellow. It's a very bright and fairly transparent yellow. So we're going to use that for our centers. One coat. Another reason why I put that warm white dot there was so that you're not fighting against the other colors. And then you get that nice bright yellow. So I'm going to dry this real quick. We're going to quickly put a nice little shadow and a highlight on that center. Now, I tend to lean towards this on a regular basis. This is my Orange Flame. I love this one for shading yellows. And I need a new bottle because this one is empty. What do you want to bet? Well, not quite. But I had to take the lid off to get some out. So now I'm using just a tiny bit, just a tiny little bit of that Orange Flame. Blend it out well. You don't want it full strength because it's a strong color. And we're just going to put a little float on the center. Just a little one. If you need a smaller brush to do it, go ahead. But it's only going to be on like half of it. There we go. Tiny little float. Doesn't have to be all that strong. And let's dry that. Oh, Robin Storm, thank you so much. Sue Potts and Don Lavelle, thank you so much for your donation for the puppers. We appreciate that. What's for dinner tonight? We are having butter chicken this evening. I put that on this morning, so it's just doing the slow simmer thing all day. And Laura Bellucci, thank you. I like the colors in this one too. There, I think it's nice and dry now. Now, the fun part about doing this kind of thing is that, neatness doesn't count. Perfection is to be avoided at all costs. I love that I can just, muckle with this a little bit. So I'm going to use a little bit of that saffron yellow. And I'm going to put a few little dip dots around the center. Nice tiny ones. Out on the petals. And away from the very center of this rose. So just like that. Nice and light. They're teeny tiny. You don't want really heavy ones. There we go. And then I'm going to do the same thing with a little bit of warm white. I don't want them too heavy, and I don't want a ton of them. You want to kind of keep this a little open so that it doesn't look heavy. You don't want a great big splotch of color in the middle. But I kind of like that a little bit with the warm white. I grabbed some asphaltum. You knew there had to be asphaltum in this. That goes without saying. And I'm going to use just a little bit of asphaltum. I don't want a ton of it, but it just adds a nice little contrast, and I try to keep them really tiny. It just creates a little texture in the middle. That's all it does. There we go. Now, we're just about done with that. We are going to come back because we're going to be doing a whole bunch of other things to this. We're going to be using the black gel pen. We're going to be using some thinned warm white and some baby pink. And we're going to do some fun stuff to texturize that. So, but I want to finish off everything first before we do that. So let's make sure this is good and dry. Excellent. Now I've realized we have a little leaf that I missed over here. So I'm going to come over here with a little leaf. I missed it when I was putting on my line drawing. So that little bit of warm white. Make sure it's nice and dry. Da-da-da-da-da. And then a little bit of that antique green. Like so. Almost forgot that. Heaven forbid. Hey, Lori. Nice to see you, Lori Fife. I have to say hi to a special lady though. Linda Safranco posted in the group this morning that her beautiful mom Mary had been receiving gifts and cards and whatnot from all of her painting friends, and Mary joins us every Saturday. She sits and watches. And Mary had surgery just recently, so she's at home recovering. And I just want to say, mwah, we love you, and we're so glad that you're feeling much better. And thank you for joining us today. She's such a sweetheart. So I'm using a 10-aught extra long detail liner for this next step. We're going to be adding just a bunch of fun little details to this. I find it just fills up a little negative space without making things look super heavy, and it's a nice way to finish things. Oh my goodness. Forgot to shake that bottle. What a mess. So I'm using a little bit of light lime, and I'm going to thin this out a little bit. And if you're finding it's too bright, you can always put a little bit of antique green in it. Kind of makes for a muddy light green, but it's still light enough. So I'm going to start by doing these leaves. We need a nice little stem on these leaves. And then I like to go around the outside edges of my leaves with just sort of a little squiggly line. I just find it finishes leaves nicely, gives them a highlight of sorts, gives them nice texture. So we've got a stem like so. Doesn't even have to be directly on the edge of the leaves. I do the same thing to flowers too. I just like how this sort of finishes things off nicely, defines leaves nicely. And this little one over here, we can't forget to give it a little shading at the bottom, just like we did with the others. It is a very small leaf, so we're not going to give it a whole lot of detail, but we are going to give it a little highlight at the tip of the leaf with that sprout, just a little. And then we're going to give this leaf a nice little stem. And again, I'm just going to give it that soft, gentle outline. And the little vines and tendrils. I like how this looks. Just softens things nicely. Now we're going to do something similar to the flowers. I'm going to take a little bit of warm white and a little bit of that baby pink. I just want a lighter value of the pink. Not quite white, not quite pink. Just sort of somewhere in between. And we're going to just very gently do the same thing we did to the leaves, but around the edges of the petals. Again, don't worry too much if they're not perfect. It doesn't matter. As long as they're fine, it doesn't matter. We're just softening the edges of these petals. And again, they can be right on the edge, they can go off the edge, they can be on the blue. It doesn't matter. It just softens the overall effect. And we're going to come back and do a little bit with the gel pen, so we're not done. Now we have to worry about this lettering. Now, I made a boo-boo right off the bat when I base coated my soap. I base coated it with honey brown. And it was supposed to be raw sienna. So it's a little bit lighter than I had intended, but I'm going to go with it. How bad could it be, right? It won't be. I can promise you that much. So I've got one coat down. This honey brown is not quite as opaque as my raw sienna, so I want to clean up a couple of things first. I'm not keen with little bits of the background color peeking through, even though I had base coated it first. Here we go. So, okay, I've got it touched up. I think I'm happy. So, I'm going to dry this real quick. We're going to talk about this lettering. Now, I love this particular font, and for the life of me, I can never remember the name of it. I was supposed to write it down and remember it today, but I forgot. If I don't write it down, it's not happening. So, the lettering. We have all of that little bit of shading in place in behind the lettering already, so we can just get to the fun stuff. But before I do that, I'm going to clear away this palette because it's a tragedy. Just tragic. What a mess. And I'm put some paint away. I've got paint bottles all over the place. So the color I'm using for the lettering up top is warm white. The coloring that I should have used for the soap was this, raw sienna. I goofed and grabbed honey brown instead. Something told me it wasn't right, but... So we're working with a little bit of warm white, and because the lettering is so small, I'm going to grab my 10-aught rigger. I got a little teeny tiny rigger. Ordinarily I work with a 0 or a 2, either of those. But from time to time, I get small little stuff that I've got to work with a slightly smaller brush. So I am working with this one. This one is a 10-aught faux squirrel rigger. So it's quite small. And I know it looks like a liner brush, but it isn't. Riggers are built differently than a liner brush, even though they look very similar. Riggers actually have a square chisel edge, much like a flat, even though they're built more like a round. But because of the way they're built, it makes doing things like this so much easier. So that when I press it down, it forms a chisel edge just like a flat brush. And so it's ideal for doing this kind of thing. So I can press down and open that brush up. Look at that. So smooth. And it does make lettering so much simpler. So square chisel edge makes a world of difference. And the fact that the brush is very flexible. It responds very nicely. So when you put a little bit of pressure on it, the brush opens up, and then you have the ability to fill a space quite nicely. So press down, let the brush open up. Look at that, fills that space really nicely. Does make lettering so easy. So someone had asked me about the water lily brushes. They're usually available from the Brush Guys, but apparently they are sold out this week. Sorry. I also know that he restocks very quickly, so he'll probably have more in stock sometime this week. The nice thing about his website is that you have the ability to get a notification when something you're looking for comes back in stock. So you just have to click that get notified button. And Stuart's really good about getting restocked fairly quickly. So, and in this day and age, it seems it does take quite some time for a lot of companies to restock. A lot of that is just shipping. I place orders on a weekly basis, and it's still, I can never guarantee when things are going to be arriving. You know, the anticipated date is, but whether it actually arrives by that time is anybody's guess. I love painting lettering. For me, this is just, it's cathartic. And surprisingly, it's not as hard as people think. I mean, if you just think about it in terms of it's just another shape that you have to fill in, it's less intimidating. No, I've never understood why people find lettering intimidating. But I have an absolute obsession with lettering. I always have. So it stands to reason that I would consider it, pretty much second nature. But for some, it's very intimidating. So I always tell students, just think about it as if you're base coating anything else. It's just another shape. And then it doesn't feel quite so irreparable. We all feel like our own handwriting is terrible, myself included. But it is the written language. And this is a pretty font. It's remarkably smooth to paint. It has nice little segments, so it's not a difficult one to get it painted nicely. Even if it's not perfect, it still looks good. It's just one of those fonts, I guess. Oops. So almost finished with this. I know for some of you, you're probably bored out of your tree watching me paint letters, but I can do this all day. I just love doing lettering. I know it's not everybody's thing, but I like it. So we're almost done. It's like base coating. Just want to get to the fun stuff. There we go. Oops. I just hooped that one. There we go. Miss Dot is getting a little bit of TLC, a little spoiling today. Oops. She hasn't been out in a couple of days because the weather's been foul. And I know that sounds odd, but Miss Dot's in a wheelchair, so it's difficult when there's ice and when there's too much snow on the ground. It's hard. She has a set of skis, though. which is, again, is fine when there's, minimal amount of snow, but when it's knee deep or ankle deep, she can't really go anywhere. So now that the roads are all cleared and, the ice is gone off of the roads, she's able to go out on her wheels. Yes, Holly, that's exactly why we're doing that. It is the provincial flower for Alberta. And it is cowboy country. So, got the leaves, the lettering is done. A couple of baubles in there, but it's all good. So you can use a little bit of Bahama Blue for the lettering. I decided to make things a little bit simpler on myself and on you, and we're going to use the background color, which is that Royal Navy, to put a float along the bottom of the lettering. I'm going to grab I'm using a 3/8 angle, one of those water lilies. Love these. And I know that there's a couple of the surfaces like this, the horse is out of stock. They have been ordered. They should be here in a couple of days. So we will get that done. So I'm going to use a little float of that background, that Royal Navy, right across the bottom of the letters. So it only comes up about a third of the way up the letter. Now I chose this one for this reason, because it's not going to be a color that we have to worry about getting on that background. And we're going to do the same thing to the bottom of that. And I like coming up about a third of the way. It just gives the lettering a nice look. Look at that. So we got our shading done. I love that on the background. I love it. So we're not done with that 10-aught yet. We're going to use this 10-aught and a little bit of lamp black. And we're going to make this lettering pop a little bit. Just a little, so you don't need a ton of paint. And you're going to thin this out because you want this paint to move smoothly off of the brush, so thin it out a little bit. And we're going to add a detail to the right side of each segment of the letter. So it's a thin black line, like so. And you're going to do that to the right side of every letter. Now that does two things. It gives the lettering a bit more shape and a little bit more visual weight. And so it has a little bit of heft. It doesn't look flat as if it's just sitting there. So it has a little bit of oomph. There we go. And I do that to saddle. And it moves quite smoothly. That's one of the reasons I like that Joe Sonia's Fast Dry, is that it lets the paint stay nice and dark, but it'll thin it so that it moves smooth off the brush. Just like so. And there we go. So, to darken a couple of these a little bit. And finish off that W because I missed that. There we go. So I'm going to dry this real quick. I know there's probably going to be a ton of questions on the YouTube channel. Oop, and Jessica Killer just sent 20 to the puppers. Robin Storm's been watching the YouTube feed for me. Renee is back. You had Miss Dot out in the weather. So now he's setting up his mic and he'll be ready to rock and roll. I was just quickly checking out some of the chat on Facebook. It disappears. Oh, and I think my Facebook feed just froze. So, soap. You know what my shading color is going to be for this.
Everything just froze.
Oh no. Oop, we're back.
No. That camera just... don't do that.
It's just going back and forth now.
Yeah, do a quick swap.
Well, it's showing up on Facebook, so you guys hear me?
They can hear you.
Well, I'm seeing everything that you're doing is showing up on camera, so. There we go. We're having a little bit of issue with the camera, so hang on a sec.
Just trying to run at 4K right now.
Oh.
There we go.
Alrighty. Okay, we're back. Thank you. Seemed to get sorted out. Glad that happened when he came back. So the soap down here is going to get a little bit of asphaltum, and we're going to use a little bit of yellow ochre. I'm not even sure I have yellow ochre. Here it is. Okay. A little bit of yellow ochre for our highlighting color, and our shading color is going to be asphaltum. You know I like my asphaltum. So a little bit of yellow ochre for my highlight. Now I kind of wanted this to have the look of leather, which is hard to do when you're working in such a small space. But we're going to use a little bit of asphaltum. And we're going to shade the bottom of our letters. Why am I picking up some blue? So we're going to shade the bottom of our letters. Little float.
Yeah, I have a microphone again.
Yay! Say hi. They've missed you.
Hello.
So little float of asphaltum along the bottom. We want to come up about 1/3 of the way. Doesn't have to be super dark. But about 1/3 or so. Like so. And you can deepen it if you find it's not quite dark enough to suit. I kind of like it just about 1/3 of the way. I think that's usually enough. And it's not supposed to look perfectly smooth anyway. It's going to be leather, like an old saddle. So our highlight color for this, a little bit of yellow ochre. If you don't have yellow ochre, you could use a little bit of mocha, just a lighter value. And mine's a little too strong, of course.
So, they missed me.
They did, with every shot.
Yes. Trying to... That autofocus is driving me nuts.
So little float. It doesn't have to be much up top there. Just a little bit. Like so. And again, neatness doesn't count for this. And you'll see why. There we
Does not
go.
want to play well today.
No. I have a little bit here. I like this curly Q thing on this S. So I'm going to put a little highlight there. I'm going to strengthen it on the O because it wasn't quite bright enough. There we are. Okay, now I'm happy. Not a drastic change, but it is just a little. We want a nice gradient.
My microphone has an echo. Shouldn't.
But it probably does. So remember what we did up top with the wild rose? We're going to take that asphaltum and we're going to do the same thing to the soap with asphaltum this time. So I want a nice little stroke of that asphaltum on the edges of these letters, like so. And again, it's just to give them a little extra dimension. I like that little bit of extra visual weight that this type of shading does to lettering. Gives it a little oomph.
I have to check if there's an echo on my microphone.
Okay. You have to speak in order to do that.
No, there is. Yeah, there is an echo.
So on that S, I want it to come all the way down, like so. Oops.
But I think I know why. Because that microphone's picking me up as well.
Ah, okay. So I'm going to dry that. And we're almost done with this one. I just have a few little fun details to put in on this. Not the least of which, I'm going to grab my black gel pen. I was finally able to get my Uniball Signos back. They have not been an easy thing to get on consistently and without paying a fortune for shipping. So we do have those back in stock, thank heavens. I like this gel pen. I use it for a lot of things. And we're going to just put a scribbly line around the outside of everything. I just like that. And don't forget, throw in a few little fine lines around the middle. I love the fact that this pen is extremely fine. That 0.38 is really, really fine. So you can do things like this without looking like you've just drawn a hard black line around everything. If we wanted that, we could do that with a paintbrush. But I like the ultra fine, the ability to put in these nice fine details without looking like I did it with a Sharpie.
Those of you wondering about the Glitterbeard Fund, I put the progress bar down at the bottom corner again.
Yay! Well, I mean, there's been a nice chunk of change in there today. Sue Potts put some in, so did Dawn Lavelle and Jessica Killeran. They're determined.
$314.59.
Yeah, you're only $1,200 away. So, and if you're not familiar with the Glitter Fund, Renee absolutely detests glitter. And then he made the mistake of telling them that if they put $1,500 into for the puppers in time for the 12 Days of Christmas live, then he would do a glitter beard and go on air. Needless to say,
Regretting it.
he's regretting it already. So I'm just using that gel pen. I really liked the idea of putting stitch marks on my lettering because I wanted them to look like leather. So I thought this would be fun. So that's what I did. So if you have a look at the original, just get little stitch marks all the way around the lettering. Super easy to do. And it's a fun little detail. You could do it with a brush. You might find it a little hard to get it fine, but you can do it with a brush if you don't have a gel pen.
Nope, Sheila's here.
Hey, Sheila. Oh my goodness. I got to tell you guys this. Miss Sheila has this. I have been having...
They can't tell what that is.
I know they can't. It's a rolling pin. It's a rolling pin cutout. Miss Sheila did the... I know, it was just a big beige bar in the middle of the screen. Brilliant, Trace. I fell in love with this. So I've been playing with this for a holiday project. So I'm just loving it. I think Sheila just comes up with the coolest surfaces. So I have a project on the go with that. And I'm loving it. So little stitches all the way around our saddle soap, like so. I'll just finish this off quickly. I just think this is a fun little detail. And it's not an in-your-face detail, but it works.
Nope. Deb is caffeinated,
Uh-oh.
and she's ready to people.
Uh-oh. Really? It's going to take a lot of coffee.
Dot was ready to people today.
Oh, was she?
Yeah.
She was out visiting.
Yes.
Our Dot's a little bit of a social butterfly. But the weather's been so crappy recently, she hasn't really been out much. Hard to do, plowing through snow on wheels.
Definitely heard the echo that time. Yeah. I think it's because Mom's microphone is picking me up as well.
So I just think that this is a fun little detail to add to this. As I said, it doesn't have to be done with this pen. You could do it with one of those Identi-pen. That's the one. You could do it with an Identi-pen. Just be aware it's not going to be as fine as this, but it would certainly work. And again, my shout out this week was to Sandy McTeer. Miss Sandy is teaching the Desert Wren decorative painters today. She's zooming. So you get a chance, send her out a hello. And Miss Deb has a little less than a week before she launches her newest project.
Oh, yeah.
So she's got a really cool idea. I've been talking to her off and on all this week, and she's been painting just some of the coolest designs. She's going to be launching her SVG files this week. She's got a whole bunch of her really cool designs have now been converted to SVG files. So people that use Cricut or have their own laser or what have you will be able to utilize those.
Cool.
Yeah, they're very cool. And some of the projects are just so stinking cute. She's been having entirely too much fun.
Well, Cheryl just added $10 to the glitter fund.
Awesome sauce. So I've been playing with these lately. Like don't have enough toys in my sandbox. I had to go play with something else. I use a white gel pen quite frequently. This is
stitch lines.
Oh, they're very fine, but they're there here. Ta-da. They are very fine. They are difficult to see, but yes, they're there. So I use either a white gel pen. I usually use my Uniball white gel pen, my opaque white gel pen. I've been playing with these lately. These are acrylic paint or Marks on Anything. They're white, opaque white paint. If I can get my pen to work. And you can go around the outside. Oh, goodness, that one's too heavy.
Oops.
Oops. Yep, a little too heavy. Nope, too heavy. I was going to use that, but I'm not going to because it's just, I'll make a mess. Because if it's not working for me right off the bat, it's not going to work. But where's my white gel pen? That's not it. There we go. I'm going to use this one. This is my regular opaque white gel pen. I'm just going to put nice little white stitch line all the way around the outside edge, about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, like so.
I love it without the horse.
It's cute without the horse, but it's going to be cuter in a minute. So I kind of like this little detail, the stitches, kind of give it a, Western or country feel, which was what I was aiming for. But that little detail going around the outside edge, I think just finishes this quite nicely. Just a simple little stitch line all the way around. Now, you can use whatever type of opaque white pen you have. I have several different types. Obviously, this one, for whatever reason, this acrylic painter one, is a little too thick for what I wanted. So we'll go with the gel pen. It was a thought. Now, wherever the design overlaps, of course, I skipped that, but there we go. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of warm white and my fugly brush. I love my fugly brushes. And I'm going to thin out a little bit of warm white, and we're going to spatter this.
Apparently I have the perfect voice for a DJ. I have a face for radio.
He has a face for radio. So, little spatter of warm white. You could use asphaltum if you want to. I like the warm white. It just keeps things from getting a little too dark. So, and I like that sort of vintagey effect that it gives you. So, this is ready. We can set this one aside because now we're going to tackle our horsey. Now, I know you're probably wondering, why is she working on a piece of cardboard? Well, it's like this. This piece has been so bloody popular that I went to grab one today to prep it for today's class, and I am out of horses. So this was the only way I could do it. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to work on this surface.
It's a mat board?
It's just a piece of mat board. I base coated it black. And we're going to use a little bit of raw sienna for our horse. If I can find it. Oh, it's right in front of me. Good heavens.
Glasses?
Like they helped. They did not help.
Binoculars?
I might, Oops. Bit more than I needed. So I'm going to find a nice little round brush or a filbert. There's a nice little round brush. So I'm going to take a little bit of raw sienna. Now your surface is going to be base coated with black because we're going to save ourselves a lot of time and effort.
Less coats.
It's not the less coats, it's shading. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to put a coat of that raw sienna in. Now I've thinned it out a little bit. I put a little bit of Joe Sonia's in it.
Ooh, 209.
Nice.
How many people are going to be on the wheel? 209 people.
And we have a bunch of giveaways today. 6 total.
6.
There's 3 in front of you that have brush sets in them. Mm. Those are the Dynasty Black Gold Minis.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then just behind you, there's 3 more. And those were just some little shopping bags, tote bags that I did for video. They were taking up space.
Now they're giveaways.
And so I thought it might be fun to just give a bunch of them away. And of course, I threw in a few other little things in there too, because that's what we do. So you might notice that I've left some areas quite transparent. I didn't put a full base coat in because we're going to be layering color in. So I'm just going to quickly, there's a few little areas where we want them a little brighter, like right here. And it's so much easier when you're working in small layers of color, like so.
What was it? Bob FM.
What's Bob FM?
Bob FM.
Oh, the radio station.
Radio station.
Why'd you apply for a job?
I was back in Winnipeg.
Yeah, I know.
Was it Q94?
Q94 FM. The mighty Q.
The mighty Q. Q94 FM.
See? Face for radio.
Yes. 80s, 90s, and whatever.
Yep. That's the one. So,
And Tracy Craig with $25.
oh, nice. Thank you, Tracy. So,
He loved the critters. Smiley face.
so I'm base coating the eyeballs with the same color. But you might notice that there is a bit of a ring around the eye that's black. We're just going to leave that in place. So, eyeballs, same color.
Rebecca Swing Wallace
Yes.
has been a member for 10 months. She says fun, fun, fun.
I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. I am too. So, the bridle on here is going to be base coated with a little bit of that yellow ochre that we used for the highlight on the letters. Kind of a muddy yellow, but it's a nice yellow.
It's the bridle.
And we're going to do the ears. Same color. I like working with this in just those thin little layers. Gives you oodles of control.
Now, modern bridles are a bar, correct?
No,
It's a bar that goes across?
that's a bit bar, yeah.
Because the old school bridles were hooks.
Oh, that's going on back a long ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Now is it all exterior? There's nothing that goes in the mouth anymore?
Oh, no, the bridle, the bit drops in
Yeah.
behind their teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt them.
But the old school ones,
That's, we're going back, over a century.
no?
Yeah, because hurting the animal, injuring the animal served no one any purpose. And most of horses is just drop it in there, like whatever.
Chomping at the bit. I get it.
Comes the dawn.
Now I get to sing now.
So I got a little bit of pink goes in these ears, a little bit. But I like to take a little bit of either some warm white and just put a little float in there. Just so that the pink shows up because everything's black. So we just want a little bit of that pink to show up. So I just put a little float of warm white in.
Apparently Jessica found a package she ordered from you, from your website.
Uh-huh.
Never opened it.
Oh my goodness. Silly bunny.
God, I got it out of the mail back in the beginning of January.
Oops.
Cool find for me.
It's like cleaning your studio. You never know what you're going to find in here.
Crystal Hendricks celebrating 16 months as a member.
I know. Miss Crystal.
And she says, I love this group.
They're an awesome bunch, I got to tell you.
They are an awesome bunch.
Yeah, they're an awesome bunch.
Rebecca with another $10 donation for the glitter beard.
Nice.
She's wishing good luck with a corgi, I think, or no, Shiba.
A Shiba Inu.
Shiba Inu yelling into a megaphone saying, good luck.
Aha. So there's a wonderful little star. I got this thing about horses with stars on their forelock. There was one on the farm, and I always used to love it. He just had this beautiful blaze in the middle of his forehead.
I want to see glitter beard.
You are not alone. So I'm just using a rigger. I'm just going to lightly stroke this in. It's not going to be super detailed. It's just a light little blaze in the middle. Like so. And you notice none of these base coats are fully solid because they don't need to be. So we're going to take a little bit of that joyful pink. I know we used it in the flower. I just want to carry some of that color around. So we're going to put a little float of that, just a little, in the ears. And then we're going to start putting in all of these fun little details. So I have some asphaltum on my brush. And I'm going to float down that line on the face. Right here. A nice little dark shadow there.
Another Shiba sticker. From Crystal.
Shiba Inu.
They're a stubborn dog to work with. I don't want to ever work with a Shiba. And there's such a high
energy?
No, high maintenance. Very high maintenance dog.
So I'm putting a float of asphaltum underneath the mane on the forelock. Just like so. So you're going to go over that blaze a little bit with that asphaltum. And I'm going to put a nice little shadow here, the base of the ears where it sticks out through. And then we're going to put a shadow along the bridle here at the top of the nose on both sides. See, our little horse is coming along.
Oh no. What? Only thing is, I must have left the bag in the cold car. The white sling pens exploded.
Oh no.
I guess I'll have to shop again.
So we're going to put a float of that asphaltum at the top of the eyeball, underneath what would be the lid. So you need that little shadow there. And along the bottom of the mouth, right there.
Amy says my husband says I'm high maintenance.
Yep.
Not compared to a Shiba.
So this little guy's coming together quite quickly. And I just realized something. When I put that blaze in there, there's supposed to be a little bit on the nose right here. Just a little. There we go.
Where can you find the material list? That's easy.
It's in the pattern.
It's in the pattern. Go to tracymoreau.net.
The patterns are complete. We have a complete supply list enclosed in it. Full-size line drawings, full-size color photos, nice big full-color step-outs. Plus, we have video.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put nice little highlight at the bottom of the eyeball with a little bit of that. You can use warm white. I'm going to use a little bit of that that yellow ochre. And just a little highlight at the bottom of that eye, like so. It's a tiny little float. And then while you have that color out and on the brush, you're going to put a highlight down right here. And then another one here.
Oh, did Karen hurt her back?
Again, yeah.
Yeah? Ouch. Poor Karen.
And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the same thing on this side, just a little bit weaker. You can use a mop brush to soften that if you want to. And grab my handy dandy mop. I find I never used to use mop brushes all that much, but I find I've been using them quite a bit lately.
Well, you've been doing a lot of animals.
So, a little bit to soften that. And the top of the nose, right here, we need a little highlight there as well. And at the top of the nostrils, I want to strengthen this one at the bottom here just a little.
I won't tell you what happened to me yesterday. Jackson got a good laugh, though.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
So our little horse is coming along quite quickly. So I'm going to take that same highlight color. We're going to go up to the ears.
What was it? You're at the age now where a good sneeze and a bad fart can put you in total paralysis.
Try being female.
I'm luckily not at that age, but I have hurt my back sneezing.
Yeah, I know.
That was during COVID. That sucked.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So on those eyes, we're going to put just a bar, little rectangle with lamp black in the center of the eye. It's just a little bar, like so. And then while you have that lamp black out, you're going to come down here and we're just going to deepen those nostrils a little. And I want to give him a little bit better mouth. I don't think there's anything quite as soft as the muzzle on a horse. I know you will never get close enough to find out.
They scare me. They're a huge, extremely intelligent animal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're and brilliant. But that, the front part of their nose and their upper lip and whatnot, that skin and whatnot, it's just like velvet.
Like Dot's ears.
Yes, like Dot's ears. Yeah. It's like velvet. And they're so gentle. Love horses.
Carrie Henderson just lost her power.
Oh, no. So that little bridle is going to get a shadow on both sides, like so, with a little bit of asphaltum. I just want the center portion at the bridge of the nose to be bright, like so. And I'm going to shade back under there because we kind of lost that for a sec. There we go.
Will these and the bee with lavender be in stock again?
Yes, they're ordered. They're coming in. They should be here Monday or Tuesday.
Oh, Karen took Ruby out for a pee.
Oh. Did she slip and fall?
Ruby tried to trip me up, and I went for a fall into the snowbank. Face first.
Oh, no.
That happens.
Yeah. Ruby's a little dachshund.
Ah. Yeah, they like to get under your feet.
So this is almost done. We're going to pop a couple little highlights in because I think these eyes are creepy the way they are. They need highlights. So right on the top of the bar and just over a little on the bottom. Top of the bar, move over a little, and then on the bottom. So we've got a highlight on the eyes. And I'm going to use a little bit of that yellow ochre that we used. We're going to give her a little bit of an eyelid with a little flick. Because horses have eyelashes. And do the same thing on this side. So a little bit of an eyelid with a little flick for eyelashes. And now we're going to start putting in her mane. Or his mane. So I have a little bit of raw sienna. I'm going to start with some raw sienna. And essentially it's just going to be a series of little strokes like so. And you can pick up a little bit of that yellow ochre while you're at it. And it's just little thin lines. I like using a dirty brush for this. So if I have a little bit of that yellow ochre and a little bit of that raw sienna on the brush.
Hopefully that helps, Linda.
What was
As
the
light
point?
as I can get it without going.
So you just continue to layer in a little raw sienna, a little yellow ochre, just in thin little strokes. And you can grab a little asphaltum too. That never hurts. I like the dirty brush because then it tends to be a little softer. It doesn't look quite so heavy-handed.
What's going on Facebook?
I don't know what's going on Facebook.
I don't know. I don't have the Facebook chat. For some reason that doesn't want to work today.
There we go. So those little layers, thin little layers of color, just alternate them back and forth. You'll be surprised at how quickly this comes together. And you can use a little of that yellow ochre. Mix a little bit of warm white with it. Oops. That's a little heavier than I wanted. But so if you want, pick up a little bit of warm white on your brush.
Oh, Patrick's off to go make dinner.
So just a few little strokes of that thinned warm white on the dirty brush just gives it a nice little highlight. And I'm going to, I like doing this. I like to take a little bit of that lamp black and just bring some of these little lines, these little details, you know, around the eye type thing. Bring those back because they get a little wanting, a little overworked with paint, etc. So I'm going to dry this. And then we're going to do that final little step that I like. I'm going to use a little bit of my gel pen just to add some fun little details to this. I just find that this softens things up nicely. So that gel pen, you know, little hairlines, whatnot for the eyebrow, down the face. You can use it to define the hair and that forelock if you want to. I love that little blaze.
Oh yeah, that's something we were gonna do today.
What's that?
Lefty.
Ah, yes. So that little bit, those thin sketchy lines, I find just finish things nicely. You can add a little more definition to some of these hairs with that gel pen, like so.
No, I gotta find her name.
Miss Robin.
Robin
Star.
Storm.
And then, of course, on the bridle, we're going to do the same thing that we did to the lettering. We're going to add just a few little stitch marks to the bridle.
In 3, 2, 1. There you go. It has been done.
So there we go.
What did I do?
You didn't do anything, Robin.
I don't know. Maybe say something in the chat. Once again, you'll see your name change.
So we have a little horse.
Just saying.
Now, once the horse is done, you can take like a couple of pieces of thin scrap wood, just whatever it is. It could be a little wooden button. And you glue it to the back of the horse's head. And then when it's dry, you decide where you're going to place the horse's head on the surface. And then you put a little glue on that spot and then position your horse. The reason I give that little bit of a spacer there is that it just gives this whole piece a little more dimension, a bit more than if we had just stuck the face directly onto the surface. So it makes for something a bit more interesting. I mean, you can glue it directly to the surface if you like, but I don't know. There's just something about having that little cast shadow on there that just makes these pieces, that little bit of extra dimension. It's such a fun addition to that piece.
Oh, Sandy McTeer's here.
Hello, Miss Sandy. She must be taking a break.
Yeah, she's having a lunch break from her class.
Yep. And don't forget, guys, Sandy McTeer is my shout out of the day for today. So if you're looking for that Tim Holtz paper for the daffodil and the crocus pieces, Sandy has that available on her website. She also stocks my favorite Heat It tool. That's available on her website. Plus, she also carries the Joe Sonia Fast Dry Glaze. So if you're in the U.S., Sandy is a great source for that. So don't forget. And Miss Sandy, mwah, love and miss you, girlfriend.
So, Robin Storm has figured out that she
She
is now a moderator.
Yeah.
Here, let me
So-
face cam.
Robin has been a tremendous help during some of the lives. She helps answer questions. She helps people throughout there. So we decided to give her a wrench.
Give her the wrench.
So we gave her the wrench. She does it out of the goodness of her soul, thank heavens. But so that's it for today. Our Wild
Oh,
Rose Saddle Soap. I hope my friends in Alberta like that one. I thought it was a fun piece. I thought it was a lot of fun. So the piece that we're going to be doing next week is the rooster. I'm excited about that one because I like roosters. I like hens and chickens and things like that. So that will be the last in that series.
Except they're the most vindictive creatures.
Yes. You know, I don't like poultry, but I like eating it.
Tasty chicken.
Tasty chicken.
Give me a second to get the wheel here.
If you go to the homepage on my website, it shows you what the upcoming classes for the Saturday Lives are. And I posted the chicken on there. And then we have the daffodils coming up as well. Those will be in a couple of weeks. I think it's, I don't know, the 11th, I think. We're doing it on the 11th. So the patterns are available on there. So I've been trying to, it seems like it's been taking me forever to get at least a couple of projects ahead every week so that you guys can plan your projects and you can, make source supplies and things like that. We do include a supply list in there, and the links usually to where my recommended sources are on that as well. So if you are looking for supplies, I have a few favorites. There is a supplier section on my website. You can go and check it out. The links, direct links are right in there. So just to make things a little bit easier. The other thing I did this week was added some new free printables to the website today.
Cool.
So there's some cute ones for Easter. We put up a couple of those. And I've been having fun. So Renee's got the wheel loaded up. How many names are on it today?
208.
208. Right on.
Giving away 6 of these.
Yep. Yeah, he's looking for his sticky pads. So we have 3 of these giveaways are actually just reusable shopping bags that I stenciled for a series of videos. And we tucked some other little goodies in there too. And then we have 3 fabulous little brush sets from Dynasty FM Brush in New York City. And they're a Dynasty Black Gold Minis, a mini round, a mini liner, and a mini fan. Nice little set of brushes, as well as some other goodies. We put one of our art stuff bags in there too. Because,
Let's go for the first name.
Okay. Did you hit the spin?
Yeah, I did.
There it goes.
And the first name is Linda Deming.
Linda, right on. Linda's been watching a lot.
Linda Deming.
Sandy Barton. Her kitchen has a rooster theme. My everything has a rooster theme, Sandy. I've been collecting roosters for years. I have quite a few of them.
She has a cast iron one.
I have a couple. Well, I have 3 cast iron.
I think that's a brush set.
Yeah, the ones that were in front of the computer are brush sets.
Brush
Yep.
set. Okay, so Linda, you got a brush set.
So here we go again.
Whee!
Yeah. Oh, jeez. I slipped. Life doesn't have to be prefect to be perfect. To be beautiful.
Miss Sheila Landry.
Awesome sauce, Sheila.
What do you need, Sheila? Do you need a bag or brushes?
She's a painter. So this is the piece that we're going to be doing on March 11th, I believe it is. Is this one here. This one's so fun. It's just a really fun technique to do.
She wants us to spin again.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you, Sheila. I swear, if it comes up again, it's fate.
It's fate. Kismet.
Do mine over, please. Carolyn Swayze.
Nice. Oh, that tea tastes some good today. Some of you might have noticed I changed my sign.
It doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful.
Read it again. I like that. Life doesn't have to be prefect to be beautiful. And it's hard to say because when you read it, that's what your brain says. It's perfect. It's not perfect. It's prefect.
All right, another spin. Somebody's getting a set of brushes.
Cool.
Set of brushes for Jerry Graff.
Right on. And don't forget that go to the homepage on my website, click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, and send us a message with your shipping information so that we can get your goodies out to you as quickly as possible. Anything that is unclaimed after 2 weeks goes back in the bin, and we use it for future lives, or we use it for the 12 days of Christmas. So one way or the other, somebody's getting some goodies.
What type of brushes are they?
Dynasty Black Gold Minis.
Minis.
Yes. So mini fan, mini round, and a liner. They're for doing very small details.
Now Sheila's regretting.
I got you, girlfriend.
The minis are nice. And spinning again for one of the bags.
The shopping bags.
One of the shopping
Of
bags.
course, I can't just put, the shopping bag in. I'll leave it at that. So there's some other little stuff in there. I think there's a stencil.
Tara L. Ellis.
Right on, Tara Ellis.
Get yourself a shopping bag and a bunch of goodies.
And we finally got those those brightly colored pens and styluses back in. So I've been tucking those in with orders as well. We get some really pretty ones in.
We'll do another bag.
Okay.
Another shopping bag goes to... Elaine Radley?
Right on. Elaine Radley.
Elaine. Right. Take a note.
So we tuck in, obviously there's brushes in the brush sets, but we also tuck in the art stuff bags, which is just a pencil case, essentially, something to keep your goodies in. And we try to fill it up with some fun stuff as well. So there's always good stuff.
Last brush set.
The last brush set.
Last brush set goes to Melinda Dixon.
Right on.
A lot of names I do not see very often. I'm glad that we're seeing some new names.
We are. Excellent. Well, congratulations, guys. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget, next Saturday, our live, we are doing the Rise and Shine Rooster cattle tag. That's the last one in the series that we have not done. And then on March 11th, we are doing the watered color daffodils.
I thought you did the rooster.
Nope.
No? Turns out you didn't?
We didn't. Somebody asked about the video, and I searched the entire YouTube channel trying to find it. Nope.
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 Have yet to do the rooster.
We hadn't done the rooster. So we're going to be doing the rooster next Saturday. I think you'll enjoy it. Oh, my nose is itchy. And then on March 11th, we're doing the watered color daffodils.
Oop.
Fun technique.
There.
What? Hello.
There.
What's that? Oh. But yeah, watered colored daffodils. That's what we're doing on March 11th on Saturday. It's a fun one. It's easy. It is truly a beginner piece. It's very easy to paint, I promise you. And the supplies, the paper you can get anywhere. The pattern does include a print. So if you can't find the paper locally, we do have a print in there for you. But the only thing you're going to need is a little 1.5-inch butterfly, little wooden one. We have those available on the website. We have little bags full of them. But that's what we're using. And there's 2 of these in the series. We'll probably be doing the crocus at a later date. So there we go. That's it for us today. Thanks so much for joining us. As always, and if you don't subscribe to my YouTube channel, please do so. Hit the big red subscribe button on YouTube or follow us on Facebook on Tracy Morrow Live. We also have a Tracy Morrow Live group. You can join that. Just send us a request. We post all sorts of fun stuff in there for you, including some free classes and some freebies from time to time. Go and check out the website at tracymorrow.net. We have lots of fun patterns, lots of videos, lots of free printables that you can download and use for your decorative painting, card making, mixed media, etc. Just join us. We always like to have a great time. And to my members, keep your eyes peeled. On March 1st, your new pattern goes up and is available to you on the members download section on my website. And a bunch of other goodies for you too. Ooh. So don't forget to check that out on March 1st. And I think I've said everything I need to say. Thanks again for joining us. Have a great weekend, everyone. We love you. Stay safe.
Pet your dog.
Pet your dog.
Or cat. Pet your fur baby. There.